Okay, we are out at the Adams-Heaton Cemetery, which is out in Adamsville. Big surprise. Nice, large, old oak tree. This is a unmarked tent grave. That's what this is called. And there's actually two of them here, although they're buried in the weeds, and I'm not sure who this would be. There is a child's headstone here that is almost worn away. Good chance that these are some of the oldest graves in this cemetery. It's not terribly big. I think that Find a Grave says there's like 60 graves here. And this is Caleb, who is doing a little documentary on what I do for a hobby and a living. So let's go around and see what we find. There's where a stone is fallen over. Here is a grave marked with just a rock. Here is one of the large slab cairns that does not have a marker on it. So this is going to be one of the unknown unfortunates. Nothing on this side. Small cradle grave over there. Marked but nothing. There's a couple of depressions in the ground that I'm sure are hard to see that are unmarked. This is a fairly standard turn of the century stone over here. Has the gates of heaven. Then a snapped off marker that's missing. And then a snapped off marker that is still here. Joseph Heaton, hence the Adams-Heaton. And then a hand pointing to heaven. We've got a stump in an unmarked grave, and then another broken stone. And this would be one of the Adams graves. And this one is probably marked on this side. Yep. Would be Mrs. Adams, daughter of William B., 1873 to 1894. A small stone that is very, very worn. Worthy of a rubbing. Huel White, 1880 to 1907. This is one of the full slab over the gravestones. There may or may not be a vault directly under this, but this old and with a crack in it, it will have filled in with dirt and mud over the years. If you've ever wondered, the vaults that you see that have stones like this that are all intact and are stacked up 6 inches over the soil level, generally if you take that off, you're looking straight down at a hole in a coffin. They don't fill them in with dirt. More recent stone. I'll get over here without twisting an ankle. 1940 and 1960. Claude Buford, 1967, the year I was born. Pardon me, Mr. Buford. And then a older grave with a very modern stone that's just engraved. Let's see, we've got an old Victorian fence over here. And it's enclosing the graves that are all, the stones are facing the other way. Let's see what we got. Oh, one of the Maccabees. One of the various fraternal orders. And then this stone here is snapped. We've got dates and no name. Youngblood, 1872 to 1908. And then here's the stone that's been snapped and repaired and very badly worn. Okay. see what we got over here. There's some flowers and flags. And fairly recent stones, like very recent. So I will not do those. Those were within the last few years, just out of respect of somebody who is still possibly in mourning. These are all this century. So I will kind of pass on these. You can come out here. This is interesting. White Sun Terry Lee, died in 82, which is still fairly recent, but it's an interesting stone, the way it's engraved and carved out. And then the Lauderdales here, which apparently are still alive. At least there's no death dates, unless it's just got a single death date, because there are flowers, and you don't generally put flowers on a grave that nobody's occupying. All right, let's see what we got over here. Brief pause. All right, let's see. This is the very modern looking fence here. And I'm not going to go in here. 1854. These are not tremendously modern graves, but they are fairly new stones. Plus there's poison oak up in there, and I really don't need to get into that. I'm sure I'm walking through some now. All right, back over here to these older stones. What do we got? This is interesting. I haven't seen one like this before. Yeah, Spidey's. It's kind of got a slab that's leaned back, although it's not a separate slab. It's carved that way. Molly Buckello, B-U-C-K-E-L-L-E-W, Buckello, died in 1910. Just an interesting stone. And this is the kind of thing that will pop up in the book on cemetery art and interesting stones. And this would be a child's grave. Born and died 2 days. When you see, and I don't really see an example here, when you see a grave that is a child's grave and it just is like little slabs and a little foot slab, and it looks like a little cradle, that's exactly what it is. It's called a cradle grave. And they're reserved usually just for children. This stone is almost completely worn away. Could definitely use a rubbing to, the foot stone has TRB, so I'm sure Find a Grave and find who this is. Here's a stone that has been snapped in half in 2 parts. Can't quite make out who it is. 1885 to 1903. Another very worn stone. Here is where somebody went back retroactively and poured concrete over a grave to make a slab over a pair. Oof. Be careful over that. Mr. Johnson, William T. 1871 to looks like 1916. Stone is broke. This would be an unmarked grave there. That's the depression that I'm talking about. You can't hardly get it in a photograph or video. I mean, you're a video student. You might have a better chance than me. And what's interesting is the grave is here, but there's a stone there, and I don't know if that stone goes with this grave. Because it doesn't look like there's a grave on that side. All right, anyway, dove of peace on this one and some scroll work. Turn of the century version. Then there's one of the chain markers. And only a couple more on this one. There's a child's stone. And this double stone here. And really there's just this one other little one over here. Which is a much more modern stone in an older grave. Alright, so that is the Adams-Heaton Cemetery. I'll post this up and take some pictures. And of course, if you want to continue to see this kind of thing, please sign up on Patreon and like us on Facebook. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.